So, there are 50 people standing in red circles, and if anyone moves, they get zapped and instantly killed. Everyone wakes up one by one. They're from all sorts of jobs and backgrounds, but not a single one of them has a clue how they ended up here. Each person has a red circle under their feet, and when some of them panic and try to leave, turns out, there's this black device in the middle of the room that can zap them with electric shocks and control who lives or dies. At first, everyone is totally confused, but things take a dark turn when someone moves and gets electrocuted. They then notice a moving arrow on the floor and realize they're part of a twisted voting game. You can manually control the arrow on the ground to vote. Making a fist means you're confirming your vote. They figure out through some testing that whoever the white arrow points to the most gets zapped. Only the person voting can see their own vote. If no one votes within 2 minutes, the device randomly kills someone anyway. So, it turns out this is a game where votes decide who lives and who dies. A guy in a blue shirt quickly figures out that, since it's a group game, they have the power to choose who dies next. That's the only way to make the most of the time they have. He proposes starting with the oldest people, reasoning that they've lived long enough anyway. The older folks are stunned by this suggestion. Even if they don't have much time left, they certainly don't want to meet their end like this. Most people aren't thrilled with his idea, but when the countdown begins, everyone ends up voting for the older individuals. One by one, the elderly are executed. Next on the blue shirt guy's list is a woman in a hat. She's 52, battling cancer, but making progress thanks to her positive attitude. If 52 is considered old, then who will be the targets next? People in their 30s and 40s? In the end, she can't escape her fate either. The room falls into a heavy silence as everyone is left utterly clueless about what to do next. In this deadly voting game with 50 people, whoever gets the most votes dies. The woman in the hat suggests they should all introduce themselves. Maybe if they get to know each other, things will make more sense. A curly-haired woman takes her turn, talking endlessly and almost reciting her family tree. She wastes so much time talking that she ends up being the next one to go. After that, nobody else wants to step up. They all realize that staying low-key is the best way to stay alive. But the darker side of human nature forces them to make hard choices. Another elderly person gets zapped to death. A Spanish guy almost becomes the next victim because of the language barrier, but a woman steps in to save him. Before anyone can react further, a white police officer suddenly speaks up. He recognizes a guy in the room as an abuser. From any angle, this guy clearly doesn't deserve to live. The abuser tries to argue at first, but just ends up getting angrier and starts insulting his girlfriend. He gets voted out, and it seems like he got what he deserved. Definitely no room for racism here. The cop doesn't last long. His racist side gets exposed, and he's inevitably voted off. The remaining people scramble to find a loophole in the game. One idea is to vote for themselves to create a tie, but someone still ends up getting zapped. Everyone looks around, unsure if the room itself is messing with them or if someone's doing it on purpose. Soon, the results of the next round come in, and it's down to a guy with glasses and a pregnant woman. It turns out, when there's a tie, everyone has to vote again. Naturally, the guy with glasses ends up being the unlucky one to die. People wonder why the revote only involved him and the pregnant woman. A guy in black admits he voted for the guy with glasses because he noticed the glasses guy's eyes and actions, which led him to believe that the glasses guy had voted for the pregnant woman. He explains that the game is designed so that only one person can survive in the end, no matter how you look at it. In this deadly voting game, it's clear that the pregnant woman and the child have the best chance of surviving. The final outcome will definitely involve one of these two groups, but some people doubt the guy in black's theory. With everyone's survival at stake, who wants to risk losing their chance to live? Amid the arguments, another tie happens, and this time it's between a little girl and an elderly woman. Despite their recent fierce debates, they end up voting off the older woman. The group splits into two factions. One thinks they should get rid of the pregnant woman and the child to keep their options open, while the other wants to protect the vulnerable, forgetting that many of the deceased elderly were also in that group. In the next round of voting, the choices are down to 3 people: a stranger, the pregnant woman, and the girl. As expected, the stranger is the one who gets voted off. The fact that the pregnant woman and the girl keep showing up in votes annoys many. At this point, a guy who's all about his wife speaks up, asking if anyone's willing to volunteer to die. He and the woman next to him are a couple. They revealed their relationship early on in the voting, playing on people's sympathy to barely survive up to now. In this death game, a young boy volunteers to sacrifice himself because he doesn't want to keep voting to kill others. But then a heated debate breaks out about his age. Some argue that he's too young to grasp the gravity of the situation, while others believe that since he volunteered, they shouldn't interfere with his choice. After a lot of arguing with no clear resolution, an uncle man decides to take the boy's place and die instead. But as soon as he's out of the picture, everyone's attention shifts back to the boy. The boy still ends up meeting his fate. Next, a soldier becomes the target of everyone's frustration. They argue that as a soldier, he's meant to protect people. But the soldier refuses to back down. He's been fighting on the front lines for 2 years. Why should he give up now? Besides, he has a wife and kids waiting for him at home. He's determined to hold out until the end. But as everyone knows, everyone's got their own struggles. Time keeps ticking away. In this death game where votes decide who lives and dies, a heavy-set woman volunteers to sacrifice herself. She lost her son in a car accident a year ago and has been living without hope ever since. A nearby pastor tries to comfort her, saying that God will surely protect her and her son. But as soon as she's gone, someone starts questioning the God talk. If believing in God really helped, why would they be in this mess? The man mocks the pastor and denigrates religion, not realizing that most people in the room are religious. Sure enough, the man becomes the next lucky one to go. With fewer people left, another guy, who fancies himself an elite, decides to make a move. He sets his sights on a gender-neutral woman and, after a lot of intense questioning, manages to dig out her real gender identity and preferences. He is convinced that such deviations from natural norms should be eliminated. What he didn't expect is that there's more than one deviant here, and the search for someone to blame is far from over. In the death game, with 50 people, both the Spanish guy and a couple involved in an affair end up dying for various reasons. The game really reveals the best and worst in people. Everyone debates who deserves to live, but when it's their turn to be voted off or denied, they start desperately trash-talking others. As more people drop, a guy with long hair notices something strange. Everyone here is a stranger, so why are only that couple together? And they even got assigned to the same spot? It can't just be a coincidence. When he points this out, the woman starts to get really nervous. Seeing this, the guy presses on and starts asking about their family details. It turns out the woman doesn't actually know the so-called loving husband at all. They're just pretending to be a couple to gain sympathy. When their scheme is exposed, the loving husband quickly tries to shift the blame, claiming it was all the woman's idea. Unsurprisingly, this makes them the new focus of everyone's anger. In the death game, with 50 people, there aren't many left now. The survivors are still split into 2 factions. Longhair, who's become the spokesperson for the pressure group, is quick on his feet and good with words. He's been using the bonds of family and love to persuade others to join his side. But all this convincing takes so much time that some people miss their chance to vote. In the end, 5 people end up being chosen, and Longhair somehow survives. He doesn't give up on trying to win people over though. The guilt-ridden pastor, unable to endure the torment any longer, chooses to self-destruct. Now there are only 6 people left, split evenly between the 2 factions. This means the next round could end in a tie. Seeing this, Longhair tries to strike a deal with the guy in black, suggesting they each sacrifice one person so everyone can move to the next round. After some quick negotiation, they decide to vote out the little girl and the scapegoat woman. But when the actual voting begins, in the death game where votes decide who lives or dies, they reach a crucial moment and discover that the honest old man from Longhair's camp hasn't voted at all. The scapegoat woman ends up meeting her end. To save himself, the guy in black seizes the opportunity, revealing that he's noticed the old man hasn't voted once. That's why he was bold enough to make a deal with Longhair. Even at this point, the old man stays silent. After some discussion, they decide to vote out the old man, but to everyone's shock, it's Longhair who gets zapped instead. It turns out it was all part of the guy in black's plan. Knowing the old man wouldn't vote, he signaled the pregnant woman at the last moment to sway the result. With Longhair gone, the old man is the next to die. Now, only 3 people from the guy in black side are left. In the death game, where 50 people stand in red circles, and anyone who moves gets executed, only 3 are left in the end. The guy in black says that no matter how the final 2 vote, he'll willingly sacrifice himself. He also hopes that one of them will choose to sacrifice themselves. If they end up in a tie, everyone will have died for nothing. The little girl looks at the pregnant woman's large belly, crying as she says she's willing to sacrifice herself. As the harsh countdown starts again, the guy in black quickly urges the little girl to step out of the circle. But just then, as both women fall, the guy in black grins, thinking he's won. However, as he basks in his victory, he realizes the game isn't over. A beam of light envelopes him, and he sees a similar light around the pregnant woman's belly. It dawns on him what's happening. He moves his hand to vote for the baby one more time. When he wakes up again, he's back in the real world, but everything has changed. The sky is filled with mysterious spacecraft, and the city is eerily silent, as if it's been invaded by aliens. The guy in black walks forward and sees more victors looking up at the ships. It looks like another death game is about to begin. The film is called Circle. If you enjoyed this, check out the original movie. Don't forget to like and subscribe.